Welcome everyone, this is the Nazi Iceberg part 2. I recommend you watch part 1 first if you haven't seen it. Last time we left in tier 2, so I will start from there. Amphetamines. During Nazi Germany, amphetamines, mostly Pervitin, was used by both military and civilians. Pervitin was given to soldiers to increase alertness, reduce fatigue and boost endurance. However, in 1940 the army started cutting back its usage due to the side effects the soldiers experienced. Some even needed to recover for 1 or 2 days after using it. By 1941 Pervitin was restricted to a doctor's prescription. Some top Nazis also used amphetamines. Even Hitler himself used various medications, which were prescribed drugs by his physician, Dr. Theodor Morell. Swastika history. The swastika wasn't invented by the Nazis. The earliest found swastikas date to 10,000 BC, but it is most likely even older. Hitler liked this symbol because in his opinion it symbolized the Aryan or the Indo-European race. There are many different variants of the swastika, a lot of them are still being used today in Eastern Europe and Asia. It is also a popular symbol in my country, but in the West the swastika is seen as a hate symbol and is banned in many countries like Germany. Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche was a German philosopher who is famous for writing about nihilism, which is the idea that life has no meaning, so everything you do is without any purpose. Anyway, he influenced Nazi ideology by his concept of Übermensch, which would I guess translate to Superman, superhuman, something like that. His idea of Übermensch was a human that would transcend conventional morality, or in other words, the Christian morality, but would create his own values and live authentically and independently. The Nazis distorted his concept for their ideology to say that the Übermensch was the Aryans and that other people were subhuman. Hitler sightings. There's a popular theory that Hitler escaped to Argentina or Spain after the war, but this is just false. We have a lot of evidence that he died in his Berlin bunker. For example, this photo taken on either April 25th or April 27, 1945. This is the last known photo of him, and at this time escape from Berlin was no longer possible. We also have eyewitness accounts of what happened in the bunker, and all of them agree that Hitler died there. But the biggest piece of evidence that he killed himself and wanted his remains cremated was that one of his biggest fears was being captured, especially by the Soviets, because then he would face the same fate as Mussolini, who was killed a year earlier. His body was publicly beaten and thrown rocks at. There is a picture of his body after it happened. I can't show it on YouTube, but you can find it on the internet. If Hitler had decided to escape Berlin, there would be a very high risk of capture, and the same thing would most likely happen to him. So it is very unlikely that he even tried to escape. Schicklgruber. Alois Hitler was Adolf's father, but he was born Alois Schicklgruber, his mother's surname, because they didn't know who his father was, but he had a stepfather named Johann Georg Heidler. In 1876, Alois convinced the Austrian authorities to recognize him as his biological father and change his surname, but the authorities misspelled it as Hitler for unknown reasons. Alright, this concludes the second tier, so I will continue with tier 3. Miguel Serrano. Okay, schizophrenia had stages. This guy would be stage 7 or something. He was a neo-Nazi from Chile who wrote multiple books. His book Adolf Hitler, The Last Avatar, he says that the origins of humankind were hidden as a part of a historical conspiracy, and that originally there were black, yellow and red humans. Then some fucking aliens arrived called Hyperboreans. There was apparently a golden age at the time, but they mixed the black, yellow and red humans, and by diluting their blood they became Aryans or white people. But then the North and South poles reversed places and the Aryans migrated south, and then the world became a struggle between the different peoples. Serrano claims that the paradise can be restored if the Aryans repurify their blood. So just like I said, absolute schizophrenia. He meant this in full seriousness, by the way. Rat tank. The rat tank or Land Cruiser P1000 was a proposed idea to make a gigantic tank that would weigh about 1,000 tons and have a very big guns. Honestly, this was just a stupid idea. The tank would be a very easy target for planes and it would probably just destroy every road it went over, so overall it was a pretty stupid idea. Aulurophobia. Fear of cats. I have no idea why it's in this iceberg. Valkyrie. Operation Valkyrie was the emergency plans to the Territorial Reserve Army of Germany in case the national civil order breaks down due to bombing of German cities or the forced laborers in German factories rising up. However, some conspirators changed the plan to take over Germany once Hitler had been assassinated in the 20 July plot, which failed because Hitler survived. Tool Society. The Tool Society was an occultist group founded in 1918. The society sponsored the German Workers' Party, which later became Hitler's party. Hitler himself wasn't a member, and it isn't known what he thought about them. Rudolf Hess and Alfred Rosenberg were members. The Tool Society also believed some schizophrenic stuff, Like there was a huge landmass near Greenland or Iceland. They also didn't like Jews. This is why this book. Most people know of Hitler's Mein Kampf, but not many people know that there is actually a second book by Hitler, written in 1928 and never published due to the poor sales of the first book at the time. In his second book, he explains his goals for Germany, mainly that he wants to expand east to Ukraine and the Caucasus. He also proposes a plan for it, which would go like this. Stage 1. Germany disregards the Treaty of Versailles, starts a massive military buildup and makes alliances with Italy and Great Britain. Stage 2. Lighting war against France and whichever countries that decide to ally with France. Stage 3. War against the Soviet Union. Stage 4. Struggle for world domination between an European alliance and the USA, or Cold War. Flettner F-2A2. Flettner F-2A2 was a helicopter developed in Nazi Germany in 1941 and used until 1945. They were very small and were mostly used to spot artillery. In 1944, German Air Ministry ordered BMW to build 1,000 of these helicopters, but the factory got bombed after only 24 were made. The Coming Race. The Coming Race is a novel by Edward Bulwer Lytton, published in 1871. In the book, a guy explores some mine shafts and discovers an underground society with people with powers or something. They can heal stuff, transmit information, use the power called virile. And it says in the book that these people will run out of habitable space underground and will be forced to go to the surface and, I don't know, destroy humans or something. It's a very weird novel. After World War II, various people claimed that there had been a secret society that is apparently searching for these virile powers, and they were somehow related to the two society mentioned earlier. So in other words, a bunch of people searching for stuff from a fiction book. I don't know, it's weird. Alright, I will end the video here. This is too much schizophrenia for one day. Please like and subscribe for part 3 and write in the comments what other things I should make videos about.